Hello! Okay, so kamusta po kayo taong bayan, and I'm back for another video po. At ngayon papag-usapan po natin yung tungkol sa flood control projects. Okay, so if you're not aware po, gumawa po ng website si PBBM yung sumbong mo sa Pangulo regarding the flood control projects po. Kasi this is one of the highly controversial government projects at present because madami pong allegations of corruption basically. Okay, so ang gagawin ko po today, explain ko sa inyo ano ba yung mga constitutional provisions related to government projects, conflicts of interest, and kung ano po yung mga possible liabilities po ng mga public figures na na-involve dito sa mga anomalous flood control projects. Okay, so wala po akong ilalaglag na tao, hindi po ako mag-accuse or mag-allege. Ang gagawin ko lang po, explain ko sa inyo yung batas, tas kung meron po kayong mga mabasang pangalan ng mga public figures dito, hindi ko po sinasabing guilty yun sila. Nagkataon lang, kinover yun sila dito ng mga news article po na gagawin nating reference. Okay, so start po tayo sa discussion. So ang magiging basis po natin dito is still the 1987 Philippine Constitution because in this video po we will be focusing mainly po on mga public figures na nasa Congress kasi yun naman po yung mga matunog talaga ngayon, di ba, na yung mga congressmen daw or mga contractors, kaya nagkaroon ng term na contractors. Okay, so yun po yung pupukusan na lang natin para mas dire-diretso po yung discussion natin. So for that po, we will first go to Article 6, the Legislative Department of the 1987 Constitution. And then from here po, Article 6, pupunta lang po tayo niyan sa Section 12 and 14. Okay, so this is very straightforward. So kung makita po ninyo, Section 12, all members of the Senate and the House of Representatives shall, upon assumption of office, make a full disclosure of their financial and business interests. So usually itong part na to ng Section 12, nagagawa na po yan dun sa SALN, yung statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth po na sinasubmit ng mga public officers. Okay? And then yung second sentence po nakalagay dyan, they shall notify the House concerned of a potential conflict of interest that may arise from the filing of a proposed legislation of which they are authors. So mamaya ko po explain talaga to in detail. Basahin muna natin para mas magets po talaga ninyo. Dito po sa second sentence, ang kailangan po natin emphasize talaga, notify the House concerned of a potential conflict of interest in relation to filing of a proposed legislation po of which they are authors. Okay, Section 12. Section 13, hindi na po natin to i-discuss kasi hindi naman po to relevant to the discussion. Skip po tayo agad Section 14. So skip din po natin tong first sentence because this involves personal appearance sa mga korte. In short, hindi ka pwede mag-hearing pag nasa member ka na po ng Congress. Okay? So anyway, punta po tayo second sentence. Neither shall he directly or indirectly be interested financially in any contract with or in any franchise or special privilege granted by the government, any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality, including GOCC or its subsidiary during his term of office. Okay? So again, take note po, ang important dito, neither shall he directly or indirectly be interested financially in any contract. Okay, so very interesting po, di ba? And then last sentence po, he shall not intervene in any matter before any office of the government for his pecuniary benefit or where he may be called upon to act on account of his office. Okay, so again, yung key provisions po natin, yung pinaka-foundation po ng discussion natin is Section 12 and Section 14 po of Article 6 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So unang-una po yung rason kung bakit importante talaga tong provisions na to. So unahin po muna natin, i-discuss natin yung Section 12 is because pag member ka po kasi ng Congress, congressman ka man or senator, mataas po yung chance na magiging involved ka talaga sa General Appropriations Act, sa national budget po natin on a yearly basis, diba? Kasi tatandaan po natin, one of the fundamental powers po of Congress is the power of the purse. Therefore, since the power of the purse is with Congress, again, mataas po yung chance na maging author ka talaga sa General Appropriations Act. Okay? So pag ganyan po kasi, kailangan mo ma-notify yung House pag meron kang potential conflict of interest. Diba? Take note nga, yung requirement lang dito ng Constitution, potential conflict of interest. Hindi po kailangan ng actual or absolute conflict of interest. As long as there is a chance na magka-conflict of interest ka in relation to a proposed legislation of which they are authors, kailangan mo po ma-notify yung House. Okay? But again, take note po, ang kailangan dito is dapat ikaw po yung magiging author sa batas. Okay? So hindi naman po lahat ng congressman kailangan agad magsabi ng potential conflict of interest kung hindi ka naman author sa General Appropriations Act. But if you are an author of the General Appropriations Act, then you have a corporation or you have investments in a corporation involved in national government contracts, kailangan mo yan ipaalam na may potential conflict of interest ka. 'Di ba? Because of course, kung ikaw yung author ng batas na yon tapos nangungontrata ka, mataas yung chance talaga na magka-conflict of interest. Okay, yan po yung sa Section 12. So sa Section 14 po, this is basically parang an in addition lang dito sa Section 12. Kasi dito mas specific na po yung nilagay, neither shall he directly or indirectly be interested financially in any contract with the government, subdivision, so on and so forth during his term of office. So itong dalawa again, 14 and 12, somewhat related po to sila. Sa 12, hindi ka pwede magka-conflict of interest pag ikaw yung author. Pero dito po sa 14, hindi ka pwede magkaroon ng direct or indirect financial interest in any contract with the government during your term. Okay? So dito po yung magiging dilemma niyan, again, if you are a congressman who is a contractor, meron ka pong corporation or meron kang investments in a corporation who is a government contractor, dun pa lang po pwede na agad natin masabi or ma-argue na you are either directly or indirectly interested financially in that contract po na pinapasukan ng corporation na yon, 'di ba? Pag ikaw mismo yung may-ari ng corporation, that is direct financial interest. Tapos pag ikaw naman ay investor lang or may shares ka, that is an indirect financial interest in any contract, 'di ba? Kasi yung purpose naman po kung bakit kumukuha ng contracts ang isang corporation is of course to generate income, 'di ba? So that is finances or financial matters. So dun pa lang po makita natin, posible po talagang ma-violate tong Section 12 and Section 14 if you are a congressman or senator who is also a contractor or has investments in a corporation that is engaged in the government contracting business. Okay? So yan po yun under the Constitution, Section 12 and Section 14. Section 12, you have to make known or notify the House of your potential conflict of interest if you are an author of a bill. And then number 14, hindi ka po pwede magkaroon ng direct or indirect financial interest in any contract with the government during your term. Okay? So ngayon, ang next question dito, wala namang penalty nakalagay dito sa Constitution eh. So paano magkaka-liability, di ba, yung mga congressmen or senators? So yan po yung magiging next discussion naman natin. So ngayon po, punta naman tayo sa Republic Act number 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. So dito po makikita nyo yung wisdom talaga ng batas natin na hindi naman inutil po yung mga legislators natin kahit papano. Yung mga legislators po nating sincere talaga na gusto magserbisyo, makikita nyo po yung yung wisdom behind the legislation po na ginagawa nila. Okay, so anyway, dito po Republic Act number 3019, this is our Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. So pupunta lang po tayo niyan, Section 3, Corrupt Practices of Public Officers. And then, pupunta po tayo diretso sa letter H. Yan. So, makikita po nyo, letter H, directly or indirectly having financial or pecuniary interest in any business, contract, or transaction in connection with which he intervenes or take part in his official capacity or in which he is prohibited by the Constitution or by any law from having any interest. Diba? So yan po, very clear. Ito pong letter H is related po to dun sa Section 12 and 14 of the 1987 Constitution. So halos inulit nga lang po, diba? Directly or indirectly having financial or pecuniary interest in any business, contract, or transaction. Tapos with which he intervenes or takes part in his official capacity. So of course, if you are a congressman or a senator, tapos author ka po sa isang bill, so yung gawin na nating example is a General Appropriations Act kasi yun yung pinaka-common. Of course, kung ikaw yung author doon, you intervened or took part in your official capacity as the author of that bill. Diba? So kung contractor ka po, you are the direct contractor, or ikaw po ay may investments or shares in a corporation that engages in government contracting, ay directly or indirectly having financial or pecuniary interest po yan siya. Okay? Pwede po siya ma-argue na ganito. In other words, posible pong may karoon talaga ng criminal liabilities yung mga government contractors. Okay? So this applies, ito pong RA RA 3019, this applies not only to congressmen naman, but also to mga LGU officers like mga governors, mayors, and so on and so forth. Pero yung dinidiscuss ko lang po ngayon is Congress lang kasi yun yung pinupukpok ngayon ni PBBM, yung sa flood control. Tapos tatandaan po kasi natin yung trabaho ng congressman, it involves the General Appropriations Act. That's the national law po yan, specifically our yearly budget of the whole country. So automatic po yan magkakaroon ng intervention or has taken part po ang isang author or co-author ng GAA dun po sa mga pondo or government contracts such as that of a flood control project. Okay? This does not have to, kung ako po tatanungin, hindi naman to kailangan talaga na intervene or take part dun lang sa bidding stage. Kasi we have to remember, yun nga, if you are the author or co-author, nag-intervene ka na rin dun or nag-take part ka na, diba, sa deliberations pa lang nung bill hanggang ma-enact siya into law. So again, this is letter H of RA 3019. So ang next question naman dito, di ba may parliamentary immunity naman yung mga congressmen, so paano sila mahukulong? Before po pala natin discuss yung sa penalty, section 6 po muna tayo. May special mention pala talaga dito sa RA 3019 for members of Congress. So section 6, prohibition on members of Congress. It shall be unlawful hereafter for any member of the Congress during the term for which he has been elected to acquire or receive any personal pecuniary interest in any specific business enterprise which will be directly and particularly favored or benefited by any law or resolution authored by him, previously approved or adopted by the Congress during the same term. So again, this is more or less same lang dun sa diniscuss ko na. If you are an author or co-author of the General Appropriations Act, you are involved in the negotiations, deliberations of that law. Therefore, hindi ka pwede mag-involve sa isang corporation na may kinabang or may financial transactions po involving the General Appropriations Act. Yan po yung legal position ko if you ask me. Kasi baka po merong magkaroon ng defense dito na the General Appropriations Act is too big. Therefore, hindi naman pwede ma-identify directly na itong pondo ay yung si Congressman ganito yung gumawa or naglagay. But we have to remember po kasi, if you are an author or co-author, you are the author of the entire law, hindi naman of specific provisions only, okay? But again, that is just my legal position or my understanding of how the lawmaking process works. So I'm sharing my experience lang po as a former member of Congress, okay? So again, ulitin ko lang po, if you are an author or co-author of a law, you are an author or co-author of the entire law and not of specific provisions only. Therefore, kahit na hindi natin ma-prove na yung pondo ay hindi ikaw nagpasok, pero yung corporation na kumuha nun is may isayo or may financial interest ka dun, pwede pa rin natin i-argue that you intervened or you took part. Okay? So, yan po yung position ko. Again, position ko lang po to. This is still subject for argument pa naman. Okay? So, anyway, yan po. Section 6, Prohibition on Members of Congress. Ngayon, punta na po tayo sa penalties. So, di ba, may parliamentary immunity. So, ang parliamentary immunity po for members of Congress is that they cannot be arrested for crimes with a penalty of up to 6 years. Okay? Pero dito po sa RA 3019, Section 9, Penalties for Violations, letter A in Section 3, 4, 5, and 6, punishment po niyan is imprisonment of not less than 6 years and 1 month. So, makikita po nyo, lampas po to sa protection or coverage ng parliamentary immunity. Kasi yung parliamentary immunity po, it is only up to 6 years, but this one po is imprisonment of 6 years and 1 month, not less than. So yung minimum po 6 years and 1 month, which means hindi po protected ang mga members of Congress from parliamentary immunity dito po sa mga graft and corruption cases. And then magkakaroon din po yan ng perpetual disqualification from public office. Okay? And then confiscation or forfeiture in favor of the government of any prohibited interest and unexplained wealth manifestly out of proportion to his salary and other lawful income. So yan po ang penalty ng violation dun sa Section 3 letter H under RA 3019. Okay? So ito naman po yung website pala ni President Bongbong Marcos tungkol dito sa flood control. Yan o, the flood control list. So yung website po na to is sumbongsapangulo.ph. And dito po makikita nyo, nilista talaga niya isa-isa yung mga flood control projects. Although dito po wala pa namang nakalist talaga of any mga status kung anomalous ba tong project na to or not. Pero nilagay lang niya lahat ng information dito for scrutiny po of the public. So pwede nyo po yan reviewin kung gusto nyo talaga maging investigator legislators, di ba? So ako po personally, since ito mukhang pinupukpok na talaga to ni PBBM, di ba? In-emphasize talaga niya sa SONA niya, sa last SONA po niya. Ito yung sinabi po niya, mahiya naman kayo sa inyong kapwa Pilipino. Mahiya naman kayo sa mga kabahayan nating naanod o nalubog sa mga pagbaha. Mahiya naman kayo lalo sa mga anak natin na magmamana sa mga utang na ginawa nyo na binulsan nyo lang ang pera. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in his 4th State of the Nation Address, July 28, 2025, Batasang Pambansa, Quezon City. So from here po, we can safely say, or any reasonable person would assume, that PBBM is really taking this seriously. Okay? So if he is taking this seriously, ang next step po niyan, sana po may makita tayong follow through sa actions ni PBBM. Kasi dito po, pinalabas niya ng information, yung data, and yan, sana lang po may second level tayo, which is follow through. So more or less, that will be the filing of the appropriate cases against the possible responsible individuals po dito sa mga anomalous or ghost flood control projects. Okay, so I am emphasizing this po na sana may ma-follow through kasi it is very easy lang kasi to make noise, diba? Gawin mo siyang public information, tapos pag na-hype up na, magkaroon naman po ng ibang issue sa bansa, biglang makakalimutan na, diba? So sana po hindi to makalimutan. So this is also a challenge po to all of you po, my fellow taong bayan, na wag natin to ipakalimot kay President Bongbong Marcos kung meron man talagang anomalous or ghost flood control projects para talagang magkaroon ng second level at magkaroon ng filing of the appropriate cases against those who were involved in the anomalous or ghost flood control projects. Okay, sana hindi lang to siya maging propaganda, maging information drive lang, but there should actually be magkaroon ng actual cases and actual individuals will be held liable para po matigil na tong mga ganitong anomalous transactions, because we have to remember this is all from taxpayer funds po. Pera po nating lahat yan at nasasayang po, tapos iilang individuals lang po yung nakikinabang due to graft and corruption. Okay, so yan lang po yung gusto ko sabihin related to this. Okay, so anyway, hanggang dyan lang po muna yung video natin for today. Hopefully, klaro na po yun. If you like more legal educational videos, may re-recommend po yan sa YouTube algorithm dito sa inyo. And if you want to be notified kung may bago po tayong upload, subscribe lang po kayo sa YouTube channel ko. And thank you rin po pala to all the members sa channel ko. Nasa 30, I believe 35 na po kayo eh. So gagawan ko po yan soon ng badges or mga emojis or stickers para po magkaroon naman kayo ng sense of pride as being a member po sa channel ko. Okay, medyo nakaluwag-luwag na po ako ngayon kasi may na-hire na po akong katulong ko sa law practice ko. So anyway, until next time, see you all po. Bye-bye!